You may not know who it is right now, but this time next year, there will be another surprising prospect battling for the NL Rookie of the Year. The Atlanta Braves always seem to do it. I'm going to give you the best candidates to do it next year in this episode of Locked On Braves. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Jake Mastroianni. You can follow me on social media at Shortstop Ball. Check out the podcast there at LockedOn_Braves on X, Locked On Braves on Instagram. If you're new and you're watching this on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button as we're approaching 15,000 subscribers on YouTube. Hit that thumbs up button. Leave me a comment down below. And if you're listening on the audio version, you can help out as well. Just leave me a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Doesn't take a ton of time, but it does help me out a ton here on the podcast. So thank you so much for your support. Thanks so much for making Locked On Braves your first listen of each and every day. Today's episode is going to be a lot of heavy focus on the minor league system right now. We'll have our minor league spotlight looking at the top performance from last week. A lot more good stuff happening on the position player side of things. You got some recent draft picks that are getting moved up, but we're also going to focus on who will be the Braves surprise Rookie of the Year candidate next season. They seem to do it every year. They have somebody that isn't on anybody's radar coming into the season, but they're right there at the end of it. We'll get into all of that on today's episode, which is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. Well, as I said, the Atlanta Braves, it seems like almost every season they have a Rookie of the Year candidate. And a lot of times those candidates seem to just pop out of nowhere. Nobody was really expecting it. I'm sitting here last year. There's no way that I thought Spencer Schwellenbach, not this time, but at the beginning of the 2024 season, there's no way Spencer Schwellenbach is remotely close to winning NL Rookie of the Year. Like, he wasn't a finalist, but in most years, Spencer Schwellenbach wins the NL Rookie of the Year. But just happened to be a lot of good candidates in the National League last season. You know, you obviously had the year with Michael Harris and Spencer Strider battling it out. They just seem to have that guy almost every year that is going to be in the Rookie of the Year contention. And as I said, most times we don't really ever see it coming. This year, Drake Baldwin, he wasn't on many people's radar. I mean, we were talking about Sean Murphy finally getting that everyday job. Travis d'Arnaud's out of there. It is Sean Murphy's job. He's going to be the primary catcher, and here he is. He's basically backing up Drake Baldwin, at least on days when Snit decides to play him. He's backing up Drake Baldwin right now at this moment because he's certainly struggling, and Drake's been playing so well. And now you have Drake, who's unfortunately falling in the NL Rookie of the Year odds at the moment because Snit won't play him anymore, or isn't playing him as much as I think he needs to. But either way, you're looking at another just kind of out of nowhere Rookie of the Year contender in Drake Baldwin. So what I want to look at today is, before we get into our weekly minor league spotlight segment and talk about the great performances from last week, and we could see some of those guys are going to be some of the ones we talk about here. But who could be that prospect in 2026 that no one really expects to win the Rookie of the Year going into the season, but they find their way into the conversation? And we'll likely do this podcast again once we get closer to the 2026 season, but we got a lot to try to get through the last month and a half here. So I wanted to go ahead and kind of set the stage while we are looking at some of these prospects now and where they could be at this time next year. And let's get the obvious one out of the way first, and that is Hurston Waldrep. I asked a lot of you who you think this player could be next year, and many of you said Hurston Waldrep, but that is the obvious choice, and we're looking for some kind of not so obvious choices. Also, a pitcher will lose their rookie status if they accumulate more than 50 innings in a major league innings, 50 major league innings, or if they spend 45 or more days on an active roster in a prior season. So there is a chance that Hurston Waldrep loses his rookie status this season. So let's not talk about Hurston Waldrep at the moment. We all know he could be a great candidate if he is eligible. I want to talk about a few others, then I'm going to give you some spicy ones for me. And the first one is obviously J.R. Richie, and he's obviously knocking on the doorstep. And as I talked about last week, it feels like he might be reaching his innings limit this year and why he might not make his debut this season. But there's a chance that J.R. Richie goes into spring training battling for a rotation spot. And even if he doesn't win it, he could be the next man up. Now, in order to win Rookie of the Year, unless it's just a down season for National League rookies, he's probably going to have to make 20-plus starts, and that feels like a lot. But I think he is an obvious candidate that going into next season, because he probably won't have a rotation spot, the odds are going to be very low on J.R. Ritchie for FanDuel and all the odds makers out there. And it feels like he is somebody that could surprise a lot of people when he does get that opportunity, if he's able to just stick in the rotation and perform the way that he has pretty much his entire minor league career. I could see J.R. Ritchie being a very viable candidate to sneak up and win NL Rookie of the Year next season. He would be my top pick, again, assuming that Waldrop is not eligible. And I guess there is a small chance that if the Braves were to move on from Ozzie at second base and give the job to Nacho, which I don't think they will do, I don't think they should do, even with Nacho swinging the bat a little bit better here lately. But, if they do, and if Nacho, what we've seen the last week or so, maybe he's getting that confidence at the big league level, and he does start to hit like he did at the minor league level, and he looks good enough defensively at second base. I know he's looked great at third base. There's a small chance that Nacho could be in the Rookie of the Year discussion. There's also a chance that he loses his eligibility by the end of this season too. Another one, a guy that's already on the 40-man roster, J.R. Ritchie isn't on the 40-man roster, but Waldrop and Nacho are, is Didier Fuentes. And I know the debut for Didier did not go very well, as Mark Bowman has noted several times. And look, even myself, I'm being, making the joke on Mark Bowman, but I too pointed out that he didn't need to be up there, and they rushed him, and they probably held him up there longer than they should have. But that's not Didier's fault. But since going down to AAA, he's looked like the top prospect that many of us knew he was and is. And just like J.R. Ritchie, if there's an opportunity, he's already on the 40-man roster, so that gives him even a leg up over a J.R. Ritchie. We could possibly see Fuentes back this year. Look, if I need to shut down Strider for a little bit or give him a break, Fuentes might be the next call up. So there's a good chance that Fuentes could be in line for 20-plus starts next season. And, he got his feet wet this year. It obviously didn't go well, but he seems to have handled it greatly, going down and throwing the ball really well at AAA. If he gets that another opportunity this year, maybe it's even just a couple of starts to, kind of make that transition back after going back to AAA, maybe working on some things, coming back, and then you build on that into next season. I think there's a good chance that Fuentes could be a really fine Rookie of the Year candidate. Now, I have three other kind of spicy ones, even more under the radar. The first one is Owen Murphy, and we're going to talk about him in this next segment here. I'm going to be interested to see where Owen Murphy finishes the season, because he's at high A right now and is just dominating. Do they let him finish the year in AA? And even if they do, that doesn't mean he's going to come into next year and just all of a sudden compete for a rotation spot. But if they did that, obviously they would start him back there at AA next year. But we know with the Atlanta Braves, you're at AA, you're just a call away. And, could he be on that list? The problem with that is that he'd have to jump guys like Hurston Waldrop, like J.R. Ritchie, like Blake Burkhalter, like, even maybe a Lucas Braun and others, even a Fuentes. So there's a lot of guys in front of him, but he's throwing the ball really well. He looks like the guy that he was before he got injured. Would look like he was going to be a top 100 prospect, which shameless plug, by the way. I'm going to be on vacation next week. I'm going to be pre-recording some stuff, and we're going to look at prospects who I think will be on a top 100 list next season. I think there are a lot of candidates, a lot of these guys that I'm talking about here right now. Now, two others that I think have the potential, both as relievers, which doesn't happen very often, but it has happened in the past, even with the Braves and Craig Kimbrell and Devin Williams in 2020. Now, in those seasons, Devin Williams, he had 27 innings, 53 strikeouts, and just one earned run allowed in that shortened season. Craig Kimbrell had over 40 saves as a rookie, so those are just really big seasons as rookie relievers, and that's what it would take. But there's a couple of guys the Braves have that are capable of doing that. One is Hayden Harris. And again, we're going to talk about him in a moment, because I just don't know what else he can prove at the minor league level at this point. But he's certainly getting it done. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Hayden Harris is the next coming of Craig Kimbrell. I've watched him pitch, and it's hard for me to be a believer just looking at the stuff visually. But clearly there is something about the stuff for Hayden Harris, because he is getting results. And then the other one is Giancarlo Lara. And Lara does have the big stuff to get those strikeouts and be a closer, to maybe get 20 plus saves to be in that discussion. Now, for a reliever to win and not have 40 saves and not have just a ridiculous year like Devin Williams did, it would take the National League not having a ton of really good rookies that season. But I think there certainly is a small chance where a Hayden Harris or a young Carlos Lara, if they were to come up, be, a closer for the Atlanta Braves, get, 20 saves or so, have a sub-2 ERA and strike out, a K per nine of 14 or 15, something ridiculous like that, there is a small chance that they could at least be in the Rookie of the Year conversation. Again, we're not really talking about winning it, just guys that could be in the conversation. So those are the ones that came to mind for me. I asked you as well, and a lot of you had similar responses as I did, a lot of the names that I went through. So I think those probably are your prime ones, which means it's probably going to be none of them because it's always someone that we don't expect. Bean says Jesus Bastidas, who we're going to talk about here in a second as well. A lot of people said Cody Miller. Again, we're going to talk about him in the second segment as he just got bumped up to high A, the recent draft pick by the Atlanta Braves. A lot of hype surrounding Cody Miller right now. I don't think he's going to be up next year to win it, but maybe the year after that. But pretty much everybody else had the guys that I picked: Joshua Julian saying Hayden Harris or J.R. Ritchie, Fax Bringer saying J.R. Ritchie or Owen Murphy. So most of you kind of agreeing with me. Ender Inciarte fan says Blake Burkhalter. I would love nothing more than that. But we'll just see what the future holds with Blake Burkhalter. All right, next we will get into our weekly minor league spotlight segment. We'll talk about some of those great hitting performances, even at Double-A for the Klingstones. We'll get into all of that here next. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. So take a flyer on the MVP race. You think maybe a Bijan Robinson? I keep saying him because he's the only player that I know for the Falcons, but you think he's going to have a big year? Go ahead, take that chance, or parlay your division winner, dark horses, whatever you may think for the upcoming football season. You can do that on August 26th, FanDuel Futures Day. Also, make sure you visit FanDuel.com/playsafe for tools and resources to help you stay in control of the way you play. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Thank you as always, making Locked On Braves your first listen of each and every day. Go check out Locked On MLB for your second listen of the day, where you get caught up on everything happening around Major League Baseball, those teams who are actually fighting for a postseason spot. Not to give up on the Braves. I know they're a little bit hot right now, but there's a lot of great content there on Locked On MLB. Let's get into our weekly minor league segment here, starting with Gwinnett, where Jesus Bastidas, who I just mentioned a moment ago, acquired from the Astros for cash at the beginning of August. 26-year-old from Venezuela. He's already played second, short, and third base at Gwinnett, so a utility player, and he's gotten off to a hot start. He went 10 for 23 last week, 3 doubles, a home run, and 2 walks. And on the season at AAA, both now with the Braves for a week and with the Astros, slashing .271 with a .360 on base and an .830 OPS, 13 home runs, and 10 stolen bases. Look, I don't think he's anything more than just some infield utility bench depth. But could be some pretty solid depth and can play all over the infield. And the Braves need that. I've talked about it for 2 years, how they need that middle infield depth at the upper levels. You got Luke Waddell there now. You got Bastidas. So you feel a little bit better about your infield depth at the minor league level. And Jared Kelenic is back. 7 for 20 last week. 2 doubles, a triple, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. Good to see him have a good week. We'll see what the future holds for Jared Kelenic. Eddie's Leonard went 4 for 22 homers and 2 walks. On the pitching side, J.R. Ritchie, 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 walk, no earned, 6 strikeouts. Like I mentioned earlier, getting probably pretty close to his innings cap this year. So I don't know that we'll see him at the big league level, but he's done all that he can do. Kind of like Hayden Harris, the next guy I'm going to talk about. 2 2/3 innings, no hits, no walk, no earned, 5 strikeouts. He's done everything that he can do. 35 games this year, a 0.64 ERA, 42 innings, 67 strikeouts, and a 0.79 whip. I don't know what else you got to do. I mean, the season is lost. Why not at least see what he can do at the big league level? And if he is a part of this future, you can let go of an Austin Cox, a Chris Stratton. There are guys that you can make room for to give Hayden Harris an opportunity. Chris Sale made 2 starts last week as he rehabs. 6 hits, 3 walks, 2 earned, and 6 1/3 innings, 6 strikeouts. Probably going to need at least one more tune-up start. I believe it was just 50-plus pitches in this last one. So he's going to need at least one more before he's ready. Dane Dunning, 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 walk, 1 earned, 4 strikeouts. Out of options, but we'll see what happens with Dane Dunning going forward. The Braves can, keep him around. Blake Burkhalter, 2 1/3, 1 hit, no walks, no earned, 1 strikeout. And Giancarlo Slara back as a starter, just 4 1/3 innings, 3 hits, 5 walks, 2 hit batters, 4 earned run, and 1 strikeout. So going back to a starter, you're kind of seeing some of those command issues, control issues get away from him again after he was looking so good as a reliever and had a good stretch there. The Braves taking a chance, moving him back as a starter, and not going quite as well as you would have hoped. And I understand. Again, I get it. I have this frustration with the Braves all the time. They are so hesitant to give up on guys as starters, but some of these guys going to be really good bullpen pieces, and you could potentially move them back to starters in the future. I think Lara could be one of your best bullpen arms right now. I've said that for Blake Burkhalter, even though the transition to bullpen for him hasn't been quite as good. But Lara was really settling in as a reliever at the AAA level. I mean, the highest level before the big leagues, as you well know, and moving back to the starter, and it just hasn't quite been the same. At Columbus, David McCabe, maybe the breakout prospect of the year for the Atlanta Braves, 9 for 22, at least on the position player side, 9 for 22, 3 doubles, 4 home runs, 15 runs batted in, 5 walks, and a stolen base even for David McCabe. Jim Jarvis, who the Braves acquired around the deadline, 8 for 25, 4 doubles, and 3 walks. Patrick Cloizzi, 7 for 26, a home run, 2 walks, 3 stolen bases. Drew Compton, 6 for 16, a double, a homer, and 2 walks. Cal Conley, 6 for 18, 2 doubles, a home run, and 2 walks. I don't remember the last time I've had back-to-back weeks of this many good position player performances at the AA level, which is always a tough league to hit in, but it feels like there's never really anything good to talk about at the AA level for the Braves, and it's 2 weeks in a row now that we have seen some really good performances there. We know the Braves always have it on the pitching side. And speaking of which, Jose Suarez, yes, that Jose Suarez still in the system. 2 games started, 11 2/3 innings pitched, 9 hit, 2 walks, 5 earned, 10 strikeouts. Lucas Braun, 4 2/3, 5 hits, walked 4 batters, 5 earned runs, but did strike out 8 in those 4 2/3 innings. Amos Willingham, 4 innings, 2 hits, no walks, 1 earned, 5 strikeouts. Ian Mejia, 3 2/3 innings of a relief, 3 hits, no walks, no earned, 4 strikeouts. And Blaine Abeda, 3 innings, 2 hits, no walks, 1 earned, 3 strikeouts, and a save. At Rome, Colby Jones, 11 for 23, 1 walk, 3 stolen bases. Logan Braunschweig went 10 for 17, 2 doubles, 1 walk. Everybody talking about Cody Miller, who we'll get to in a second, but Logan Braunschweig might be out to the best start of any recently drafted player, which really makes me kick myself that I didn't go at least watch him a couple of times at UAB. But having a great start to his professional career, and again, doing it at Rome at the high A level. Isaiah Drake had 6 hits, 2 walks, and a stolen base. And Alex Lodies, after a pretty rough week last week, bounces back, goes 5 for 18 with a double, 3 walks and 4 strikeouts, and a stolen base. Rome got caught stealing 7 times last week. It's got to be an organizational thing at this point. They just really don't know how to teach people how to steal bases. It just feels like the Braves, obviously at the major league level, it just seems like for other teams, it's very easy. And for the Braves, it's like pulling teeth trying to get a stolen base. But that really caught my eye as I was looking through some of the numbers. The Braves, or at Rome, they got caught stealing 7 times last week. On the pitching side at Rome, Jacob Gomez, 2 games, 3 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, no earned, 5 strikeouts, and a save. Herrick Hernandez, 4 innings, 1 hit, 6 walks, but no earned runs somehow. That's pretty incredible. 5 strikeouts. And then Owen Murphy, 5 1/3, 1 hit, 1 walk, no earned, 4 strikeouts. Like I said, it's looked really easy for Owen Murphy coming back, and we'll see if his next start is at AA. Garrett Ballman, 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 walks, no earned, 3 strikeouts. And then Jacob Kroger, 6 innings, 1 hit, 2 walks, no earned, 1 strikeout. Not a lot of strikeouts, probably not dominant stuff there from Jacob Kroger. I haven't watched him pitch yet and don't have the data on him, but just getting it done. Again, great results. He's been kind of one of those under-the-radar pitchers this year that's just gotten it done. At Augusta, the Green Jackets, John Hill, 9 for 21, 3 doubles, a home run, 5 walks, 4 stolen bases. Good to see him get going. One of the best bats in the system. Eric Hartman, 8 for 25, a double, 2 walks, and 5 stolen bases. The aforementioned Cody Miller, 8 for 22, a double, 3 walks, and 2 stolen bases. They did move him up for this week, so he is now at Rome. It was looking too easy for him at Augusta. The recently drafted infielder Joe Olsavsky went 6 for 12 with 2 doubles, 5 walks, and a stolen base. Luis Guanipa only played in 3 games last week, 5 for 13, 2 walks, and a stolen base. Last played on August 15th, really hoping that he's not injured. Had an injury-riddled season last year. Looking like a new Luis Guanipa this season in the short time that we've been able to see him. So hopefully he's healthy and okay, and we can see a lot more of him the rest of the way. Dixon Williams, 5 for 19, 2 doubles, a triple, 6 walks, and 2 stolen bases. I feel like he's getting a lot of love nationally. I forget which list I was looking at, but they had him in the Braves top 10. So again, a recently drafted player there for the Atlanta Braves. We'll see what happens. Position player side, it's looking pretty good so far, whether Bronschwing, Lodies, Miller, Williams, and even the high schooler that they haven't called up yet, whose name's eluding me at the moment, hearing good stuff about him at the Florida Complex League. So the Braves, at least early on, seem to be doing pretty well with the prospects that they drafted in the most recent draft. Which is certainly good for them. Connor Essenberg, the name that I couldn't think of, but hearing good stuff about him too. So could be a big draft on the position player side of things for the Atlanta Braves. Also want to mention Douglas Glod, because we talked about international prospects last week and the Braves really needing some to break through. And Glod's had a bit of a decent season, 4 for 11 this past week, a double and a walk. And on the pitching side at Augusta, Jeremy Reyes, 6 2/3, 3 hits, 1 walk, no earned, 10 strikeouts. Another one of those international pitching signings that the Braves haven't really struggled with. Jeremy Reyes, another big arm there to watch out for. Samuel Mejia, 2 games last week, 4 innings, no hits, 1 walk, no earned, and 7 strikeouts. Raven Antonio, 4 innings, 6 strikeouts, no walks, and 5 hits allowed. Cam Caminiti, 4 innings, 5 hits, 3 walks, 1 earned, 4 strikeouts. A so-so outing for a Cam Caminiti, who's been great as well. And then at the DSL level, Angel Carmona, 5 for 15, 2 doubles, a triple, and 2 walks. Manuel Campos only played in 1 game last week, and he's been one of the best players at the DSL level for the Braves, along with Diego Torrens, Juan Espinal, and Michael Martinez, who since got moved up in the case of Martinez. But Campos has been good all season long. Only played in 1 game last week. We went 3 for 4 with a triple and a walk. Juan Alejandro had 3 hits and 5 walks in 4 games. And on the pitching side, Edward Hidalgo went 4 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 1 walk, 2 earned, 7 strikeouts. And Roddy Reyes, 4 innings, 2 hits, did walk 4, but just 1 earned run allowed with 5 strikeouts. So a lot of good stuff happening down on the farm for the Atlanta Braves. Some really good performances on the position player side of things, which we all know the pitching side is good and solid in the system right now, but it's great to see some of these hitters really start to finish strong to the season, giving you a lot of hope going into next year. All right, next we'll get into Monday night's game, including the rough start from Spencer Strider. And do the Braves just need to give him a little bit of a break right now? Give him a little bit of a breather, try to get him on track heading into the offseason. We'll talk about all of that here next. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up, and college football isn't far behind, starting this weekend. Whether you've got your eye on a big-name quarterbacks or breakout running backs, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in on the game. Got that football season starting this weekend. Again, I'm not your go-to source for that, but it does give you some more options to play here on Prize Picks. Whether it is whatever the big college football game this week is over in Ireland, or if you're in the NFL, whether it be the top quarterbacks like Joe Burrow, running back Saquon Barkley, whatever you want, you can get it there on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. And the flex play option is a total game changer as well. Even when one of your picks misses, you still double your money. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Also, for help with responsible gaming, make sure you go to prizepicks.com/help-center/responsible-gaming. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, run your game. The Atlanta Braves played a wild game on Monday night, finally losing to the Chicago White Sox 13-9 in what looked like a blowout loss at one point, and the Braves tried to fight it back. And a lot of stories in this one. We covered it a lot on the postcast, but to get into a couple things here. And the first one is Spencer Strider, and just another rough outing for him. 3 straight just really awful performances in the month of August here. And I don't know what you do with Spencer Strider at this point. I threw out the idea of shutting him down at least for a little while, maybe to give him a little rest, maybe just kind of reset, because something's off with him at the moment. And this one, it didn't even feel like it was so much about mislocation. There was some of that. Also, just some good pitches that got hit. And again, he's just in a really bad spot. And I talked about this after his last bad performance. It just feels like we're at a point with Spencer Strider right now where just get him healthy into the postseason, let him rest up, let him have a regular healthy offseason, and come back next year. I'm still a big believer in Spencer Strider. I think he's going to figure this thing out. We've already seen a long stretch this season of him being effective with what he has now. And I'm still hopeful that he can be even better, that the velocity can come back, but even more so than that, just the command of those pitches. And even tonight, he still got a lot of swings and misses. It was just when he made a mistake, it got absolutely killed. And sometimes even when he didn't make a mistake, the White Sox just made some really good swings. And I told you coming into this series, White Sox have been one of the best offenses in baseball in the second half. Now, shouldn't give up as many runs as Spencer Strider did, and should certainly need some more success than that. But he's just going through it at the moment, whatever it is. And, I don't think it's tipping pitches. I mean, he only throws 2 pitches primarily anyway. It is partly command, but tonight, or against the White Sox on Monday, it felt like it was a little bit of everything. It was some mislocation, but it was also just even the good pitches that he threw were getting destroyed, which is maybe even more worrisome. So we'll see what happens with Spencer Strider. I mean, I would imagine they're just going to let him ride things out this year and continue to throw him out there every 5th day or maybe 6th day when Chris Sale comes back, if they go to a 6-man rotation at some point, which they probably should. But I would imagine they're just still going to run him out there as long as he feels good and wants to, and try to figure this out. But I'm more so for Spencer Strider, no matter what happens the rest of the way this season. I'm just excited for him to get a full off season, try to refresh, come back next year, and look like the Spencer Strider that we all know. And he gets a big salary bump next year as well. So you're certainly hoping that he can become, if not, that Cy Young type of contender, at least be a good number 2, 3 starter. And he hasn't been that for his last 3 starts. But again, I'm still very confident that Strider will get there eventually. But this is a really rough stretch he's going through at the moment. And outside of that, the offense just, again, continues to put up a ton of runs. I mean, when Profar hit his first home run of the night to make it a 10-5 game, I felt like at that point, this team can come back. That's how confident I am in this offense. And they did. They brought the tying run to the plate in the 8th inning. And that's where our second big talking point comes into play here, because in what was a blowout loss, Brian Snitker decides to let Michael Harris bat to start the 8th inning. And after he gets his 4th hit of the game, he pinch runs for him with Eli White, which didn't really make a ton of sense to me at the time, but it was a blowout. Don't really expect the Braves to bring the tying run to the plate that inning. But first of all, Michael Harris is your best player. And he's also very young. I don't really worry about getting him off his feet, but I understand he plays a lot of games. So you felt like it was an opportunity to do so. But for me, if that was the case, just pinch hit for him. Why do you let him hit and then you're going to run for him? If you were going to take him out of the game, just go ahead and pinch hit for him. But you let him hit. And then, of course, he gets another hit because he's as hot as can be right now. And then you pitch run for him. And then, wouldn't you know it, it's so on brand for 2025 Braves. His spot comes back up to the plate as the tying run in that inning. And instead of Michael Harris, who was 4 for 4, the hottest player on the planet right now, you get a cold Eli White coming off the bench in the biggest spot of the game. So highly unfortunate. I understand, people upset. I understand, wanting to give Michael Harris some rest. I guess I just didn't understand letting him hit and then taking him out of the game. And it's just highly unfortunate because it would have been a really cool moment for Michael Harris, who's, again, having been really hot, having another excellent game, had a home run in this one, was 4 for 4, could have come up as the tying run in the bottom of the 8th. And instead you were robbed of that potential big moment because you brought in Eli White. So just really frustrating from a fan perspective. But again, a lot of credit to this offense who fought hard to get you back in a game that you had no chance being in. So got to give the offense big credit here. Profar, big game. Matt Olson had 3 hits and somehow didn't score a run and didn't have an RBI. I guess that's because Profar was clearing the bases every time before he got an opportunity. But just good stuff all around from the offense, continuing to do some good things. Ronald, he gets a one-handed hit. He tried to call time and then just threw his hands at the baseball and shot it up the middle. But again, I can't tell you how impressed I am, I am impressed of this offense. I didn't say that correctly, but you know what I mean. This offense has been very impressive in the second half of this season. But as I said on the podcast yesterday, don't let that fool you into thinking that there don't need to be some major changes in the offseason. It's great. Hopefully you get some good guys, so some guys having some good vibes going into the offseason, and you carry that over. Scott, Jerickson Profar, man, words are hard at the end of this podcast here, so we need to wrap some things up. But Profar had an 830 OPS before his last about in the game, 826 OPS right now has looked fantastic. Obviously, Michael Harris turning things around. Matt Olson's been good for all season. Would love to see some more power come along. I mean, you can see the core of this offense is here, but still needs to be some major things done in the offseason to give them some help. All right, let me wrap things up before I put more word salad in here. See, I can't even say that correctly. So let's go ahead and end this episode of Locked On Braves. Subscribe on YouTube if you're still with me and you still enjoy me making a mess of things here. And hit that thumbs up button. Leave me a comment down below. Make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And we will talk to you next time.